Hey everyone, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Wednesday, everyone. It is time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So why don't we dive right in here and see what happened? And I will start with what Rafa did today. And Rafa continued his momentum on the 67 Beetle here, the formerly pearl white, which by the way is that color, now Java green. So Rafa's doing all the fun stuff. I have to admit to being a little bit jealous. I was kind of hoping to do a lot of the stuff myself, but he was pretty anxious to do it. So I said, you know what? Let me just let him have some fun. So yeah. Anyway, let's see what he did here. So we'll start off here on the front. So he added the wire conduits here that run from the fender to the body, those deals there that you can see. So early cars had those made out of metal on them. Later cars they were rubber. But anyway, so yeah, I put those on. Put the little drain tubes at the bottom of the headlight buckets, so you can see that right there. So if water should accumulate or otherwise get in here, it drains out through those things so it doesn't sit in there and rust. So let's see, put those on. He put on the horn grills, nice little touch. The one on the passenger side, of course, having the block off plate, which a lot of people don't put on there, but it is supposed to have one. This side, of course, doesn't, because the horn will sit back there on that bracket that you can see there. Original horn anyway, which I previously restored. Just got to have the face of it powder coated now, but yeah, made it work. You can see that on an earlier episode. Front turn indicators went on, so I had previously gone through and checked and cleaned up the bulb holders for those. Unfortunately, the chrome tops of those were pretty bad, so we went ahead and bought new ones. The ones Wolfsburg West sells are pretty nice, so it's not, it's not like they look bad or fit terribly or anything. So yeah, those went on. Some little stuff. Return spring for the glove box. I think he put on the glove box stoppers too, which are these little rubber doodads here. Put the center dash defroster vent in, which of course has a piece underneath there, that log looking thing that connects. So hose kind of runs on either side over and then down to there. There's a Y that goes on there. So it also connects to the side defroster vents. So let's see, what else did he do here? I don't think he did a whole lot around the back of the car that he hadn't done already yesterday. He did start putting the molding on the car. Obviously the doors aren't on it yet, but at least the pieces of molding that are on the main body here are on. Antenna is on. I need to actually speak to this owner and see if he wants us to put a radio in it. So for now, that is sitting there kind of like a placeholder as to whether or not we want to install a speaker there. If he doesn't want a speaker, then we'll put the vinyl over that, so it's not just open through the grill here to keep air and stuff out. If he does want a speaker, then that essentially blocks the hole. Fun little detail here, the 12-volt sticker went on. Oh yeah, well, so here's the other side of the dash. So I had previously cleaned up the dash screen, so that's the screen that you can see there. So those get painted silver, and then on the right side here, the fuel gauge, which I had previously gone through and restored, went on there. So that side's basically done. This side, again, we just need to decide if it's getting a speaker or not. And so yeah, that trim went on there. So lots of cool little details like that going on. I could tell Rafa was having a lot of fun today. And again, I was kind of jealous, but sometimes you got to let your employees do the fun stuff too. So let me see, guys. Oh yeah, some other little details there. The windshield squirter, the grab handle. I think that's kind of the main things, guys. So yeah, just lots of little things, none of which too, time consuming to put in. but they all kind of add up to eventually make a car. I think he went ahead and populated the fuse box with fuses and put the cover on it. So yet again, little thing that's done. So that was Rafa's day. So my day, I kind of jumped around a little bit between this guy, the Pearl White 64 that we put an upgraded engine and a re-geared transmission in. Guys, the oil leaks on this car are just killing me. So yesterday I tried to seal up the drain plug, which is the one in the middle of the sump plate there. Drained all the oil out, pulled the plug, reinstalled it with a new crush gasket and some sealant, some shellac that we use. Tried that, still leaked. So this morning repeated that process and resealed everything. Well, the plug and its, crush gasket, washer, whatever you want to call it, and everything with ultra gray RTV. Thought there's no way it's going to leak because I coated, both sides of the crush gasket and coated everything. I don't know how it's leaking, but it is. You can even see the spot right there. So I think in the morning I'm just going to drain the oil again and pull the whole sump plate. I think that sump plate must have a weird defect in it or something. I don't know if it's probably not a crack. I mean, it's a piece of sheet metal. Something's weird with that sump plate or the plug itself. I don't know. Something weird going on there. The oil filter over here is still also leaking, although not as bad. But so yesterday I found that one of the hose clamps on it was, let me go over here so we can see what I'm talking about here. So yesterday I found that one of the hose clamps on it, the one to the left there on the video, hose clamp was defective and it wasn't really holding very tight. So tighten that up. That vastly improved the oil leak. However, it's still leaking. So wiped everything down really good, started the motor, and then I could start seeing some oil kind of forming around this brass connector where it goes into the actual adapter. So I used Loctite 567, which is what I pretty much always use on threads, and I don't know, guys, it let me down this time. Super weird. So I'm gonna pull that out and see what's going on, and then I don't know, reseal it with 567, put more of it on it, or I don't know. We'll see. I'll get it one way or another. But yeah, that leak and the leak on the sump plate plug are getting to be pretty annoying. Been kind of wrestling with those for a couple days and they still leak. So one of those things that's not very fun and way more time consuming than it should be. So other than that, I did also receive the carburetor for this car that does have an electric choke on it. And it's one of those generic H3031s. So it still has an adapter plate because that's a little bit of a small carburetor to fit on a dual port manifold. So adapter plate here like it had before with that, I think it was a 30 millimeter carburetor also. I was actually hoping he would send me a 30 picked 1 reproduction that has the choke on it because they're just much easier to work on and tune. But he sent me this H3031, which is kind of like a scaled down 34 picked 3, which are just not great carburetors in my opinion. But that having been said, I put that on. Couldn't really get it to idle, so I went ahead and even with the choke adjusted and took it for a run and got it warmed up and stuff, and then went to adjusting the 2 screws on the side. So the big one is basically the air bypass, that's essentially your idle speed, and then the smaller one there is the idle mixture. So you got to go back and forth between those. So I think I got it idling okay now. This car does have a aftermarket cam in it. I think it's like a Scat C25 comes to mind. So the idle on here, especially with a single carburetor like that, it's pretty lumpy, which sounds kind of cool, but at the same time, it makes it a little bit hard to get like a decent idle without having to just turn the idle speed up. But the thing runs great, and took it out and beat on it a little bit. Super fun to drive again. So yeah, still got to do maybe a little bit more tuning on this carburetor here to make sure that it's going to be reliable and easy to start and all that stuff. And then yeah, those oil leaks. No fun. All right, so that was pretty much it for this one. Some test drives and some oil leaks and a carburetor. So also managed to work on this guy, aka Big Blue, a bit. And you can see there, if you have a keen eye, that it now has tie rods on it. So I bought a pair of tie rods and the drag link, which is the one that goes from that sort of L-shaped swing arm there to the pitman arm on the steering box, runs that way. So bought those three things from Wolfsburg West, and that allowed me to pretty much connect all the steering wheel is just kind of sitting there on the end of the shaft, so I could turn it and check the steering and stuff like that. So yeah, steering got hooked up today. Of course, we'll still have to play with that when the car gets on the road, or on the ground, doing alignment and all that stuff. But at least for now, the steering is pretty much hooked up. What else? Only other major-ish thing I did today was I finally installed for real the glove box. So here's the strap all nice and tight. I did have to bend it a little bit more than I had it previously. So the reason for that is with the air conditioning and all the massive hoses that runs back here, the instructions from Gilmore have you actually shorten the glove box 3/4 of an inch. So you cut off on this side, and then you put these notches and stuff back in it. So it moves at 3/4 of an inch that way, which gives you more space on this side for the litany of duct work that's going to be running back here for the air conditioner. So yeah, that is actually installed for real now, as is the glove box door. Works nice, looks nice. So yeah, now that is installed, next thing is to go ahead and stick all those ducts up underneath there, and then the evaporator can go in also for real. And so yeah, that's probably the next step here, is to put all the ducting in and then put the evaporator in. And then I am still waiting on that one hose that they need to send me for that goes from the condenser, which is about there under the car, to the dryer, which is about there under the car, and connect that. And then yeah, I think then I'm at the point, guys, where I need to take the motor and mock it up in the engine compartment and check the routing of the two hoses that these are the ones that come to and from the compressor. Check the routing on those and stuff like that, and get that all kind of nailed down. And yeah, and also the motor probably, it's probably not going to happen this week. Tomorrow's Thursday already, but the motor itself, which is right here, is I think ready to strap on the dyno. It needs oil in it, but other than that, I think it's together to the point where we can go ahead and dyno it. Just need to stick some hoses on these fresh air outlets, so all our cooling air isn't just blowing into the dyno room. But yeah, other than that and adding oil, I think it's pretty much, stick a dipstick in it. Other than that, I think it's ready to bolt onto the dyno, that is, and see what this thing does and do some preliminary testing. So maybe next week, guys. Stay tuned. It'll happen pretty soon, because I definitely want to do bench testing and stuff of this motor like we do on all motors before it goes in the car. Just a good way to head off any minor problems. We don't really expect them, but things come up before it's in the car and then has to be pulled out again or whatever. Bench testing is my friend. So I believe for today, that is it, everyone. So thank you guys all very much for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.